18, yeah.
My question is that normally you say Imam Abu Hanifa, he doesn't put a value to things.
Exactly. Perfect. That is his position. Exactly. You know, one thing, um, the main position of Abu Hanifa is utruk ila al-mubtala bihi. That's the main principle, isn't it? You are referring to. So that's one thing. Imam Jassas, he actually tries to justify, to answer to your question. Okay. So then he says that he was just going with the environment in which he lives. Do you understand? Yeah, so I think obviously with one principle you cannot set up this, okay? But what I assume is Abu Hanif was trying to avoid the confusion also, most likely, or else he never specifies, okay? Because if you just leave it without specifying, okay, so then what about the layman? Okay, so for example, Imam Muhammad, he goes even much more further in terms of the minor field, do you remember, and other things. Okay, so they go to specify just for the same exact reason, to avoid. Do you understand? Yeah, but for me, I would say there was no any other way out, because which one is more important? Is it the aqidah matters or is it the fiqh matters? Aqidah matters. In the fiqh issues, Abu Hanifa never specifies. But the age of maturity, so we do have some certain aqidawi requirements also, am I right? Responsibilities. Do you understand what I mean? Okay. So that's why I think he was forced. But again, there is no any clear-cut answer. Abu Hanifa did not explain. Okay, Imam Jassas gave his own suggestion, so he said he was making it based on his own time, okay, environment, okay, Kufa, yeah. So and also, what I am saying is from myself, from my own understanding of what Abu Hanifa did. Okay, but is it right? Not necessarily. Abu Hanifa is silent. He didn't explain why. Okay, but it is his position to say utruk ila, and anything which is not specified textually, we do not specify rationally. Okay, yeah. Obviously we cannot speak it out loudly because, as you know, mashallah, Ahl Sunnah, they're quite aggressive, you know. So it shows that it is not very clear cut. So in terms of, if someone after the age of 18 does not pray, so you cannot harm him at all, because the age of maturity is ijtihadi. Do you understand? And wherever there is ijtihadi masail, you cannot implement the punishments. Do you understand? But in our time, if you speak it out loudly, oh, you know, he is damaging our religion. So does it mean that if I see my child reaching the age of 13 and not praying, so I have to... Do you understand that? Emotional things. Okay? Yeah. But anyway, no answer to your question, no answer. Just assumptions. The position of Sahibain is very weak based on that single chain narration of Sayyidah Aisha. I have consummated the marriage with the Prophet at the age of 9. Oh, means the age of 9 is the age of balagha for the girls. First of all, it could be very specific conditions. So for example, we know some humans, okay, at the age of maybe 10, they are 2 meters. Do you understand? So it is some type of physical, some type of deformation, you know, degradation or whatever. So just because Sayyidah Aisha says, yeah, I have consummated my marriage at the age of 9. So first of all, I think it's lie, fabricated. I don't know who have inserted this into Bukhari. I don't know. But besides that, even if it is authentic, so what? It's her individual case. It's not applicable. It's not applicable. It's umum al-balwa. Having sex, you know, so it's umum al-balwa. Why do I have to accept single chain? So Sahibain have contradicted our principle. Not accepted at all. Does not make sense. Okay.
Why the general Hanafi opinion regarding this then at the age of balagha?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Imam Muhammad brought it from the Atharis. Abu Yusuf and Muhammad, they brought it from Atharis, saying boys starting from 12, girls starting from 9. Then we expect the sign of the maturity, and then at the age of 15, if no sign, they become automatically mature by age. Abu Hanifa says at the age of 18, regardless. Either there is sign, no sign, regardless. Latest mashayikh, the latest, you know, the latest mashayikh, they tried to combine between the opinion of Abu Yusuf, between opinion of Abu Hanifa and the Sahabain. They said, yeah, if there are signs, then before the age of 18, according to Abu Hanifa, but no signs, then age of... Abu Hanifa never said that. Do you understand? Okay, Sayyidi. قال المصنف رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه وبركاته وبكم آمين. كتاب المكاتب. Mukatab, obviously, is coming from the root of kataba yaktubu, to write. Mukatab, as you know, fa'ala, mufa'ala. What is the meaning of the wazn of mufa'ala, bab of mufa'ala? Exactly, yeah. So from two sides. Okay, for example, if you say rasaltuhu, so arsaltu ilayhi, I have written a letter for him, to him. But if you say rasaltuhu, we have exchanged letter. حدثت إليه, I spoke to him, I told him. حدثناه, okay, or تحادثنا, we spoke from both sides. So مفاعلة is musharaka. Excellent, well done. Sisters, understanding inshallah? Yes, so are you guys studying sarf? How far did you go with the sarf? Studying sarf? Sarf is the subject which teaches which makeup to apply in which day of a week. That is the subject about here. Don't you teach them the makeup, say this makeup they have to do on Friday night, you know? Not today. Only for the males. Yeah. Okay, سيدي بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال المصنف رحمه الله ونفعنا بعلومه وبكم آمين. وإذا كاتب المولى عبده أو أمته على مال شرطه عليه وقبل العبد ذلك العقد صار مكاتبا. So basically it is just transaction. Okay, so all of the conditions of the, you know, the default conditions of the muamalat applicable on here also. Okay, so sanity, majhu, etc. So whatever we said. So if master makes mukatab, so if master agrees, makes a contract, okay, with the mawla, with the slave or she slave, ala malin, okay, and conditions it with a certain amount of money, wa qabila al-abdu, and slave accepts that. قبل العبد ذلك العقد صار مكاتبا. So if slave accepts that contract, so he gets the status of mukatab. Mukatab is free, you can say, partially free slave, okay, who is freely allowed to buy and sell and travel and to do whatever. So now he's going to explain what he can do and what he cannot do. Okay, so then this status will be void by one of two conditions. Either he will be unable to fulfill the contract during that time limit, if there is time limit, or he admits by himself, he nullifies by himself, saying, I'm not going to do, or I'm unable to do. So he loses the status and he goes back to be mukatab. Now question, can the master, so after agreeing on a time, so for example 1 year, before that, can the master nullify the contract? What do you think? Why? No, well, it's his slave, you know. So what do you think? Which is done, exactly. You have to insist. When you understand something, you have to insist on your understanding. Because I did not refute your answer. You understand? So I was just siding. So just stay firm on your opinion, okay? Well done. So anyway, because the default condition of the contract, offer and accept, is done, condition is not yet met for the new. So by the necessity. Necessity is there already. Well done. Are you married? Why are you so coward then? Before marriage, we all, after the marriage, we become like this, like pussycat. So now you have to be brave, Because I thought maybe your general sap is there, so that's why you're so quiet. Okay, Sidi. ويجوز أن يشترط المال حالا ويجوز مؤجلا ومنجما. So it is just normal contract. So we apply the all of the conditions of the contract. So based on that, you can make the contract on the payment straight away, cash payment straight away, or حالا means straight away. ويجوز مؤجلا or later. Okay, so for some certain. ومنجما or منجم means regular installments. Munajjam is coming from the root of najm. Okay, so it's basically on monthly basis. Okay, or on installments. وتجوز كتابة العبد الصغير إذا كان يعقل الشراء والبيع. Well, according to Hanafi school, it's good, a natural thing, because we said that the transaction of the immature boy and girl, as long as they have a brain, that is valid. So means you can make the mukataba of your slave who is yet immature but can comprehend the trading. So there is brain. Okay. So for example, 15 years old boy, okay, or girl, for example, immature, but they understand buying and selling, how to make profit, etc. Some of the kids, they make the trading even better than we do. It's like mindset, they're born with it, talent. Okay, so academic mindset, the real academic mindset, they're big losers in the trading. It's exactly as the people who are born with the trading mindset, they cannot do the academical work. They fail. So which type of mindset are you guys?
You have to be academic for this.
You have to be, but are you? You are too handsome to be academic. Scholars are normally very ugly. You're a very handsome boy,
Sheikh, what do you think about yourself?
No, after me, after me. How old are you?
21.
20, okay, yeah. No, mashallah, quite handsome. Do they run after you, behind you? Do they text you? Pass on few to me. No. We share. Because he was talking about partnership. Yes, we do partnership here, وتجوز كتابة العبد الصغير إذا كان يعقل. So the most important thing, if they can, the immature boy and girl, so if they can comprehend the trading, the mukataba is valid. وإذا صحت الكتابة خرج المكاتب عن يد المولى. So as soon as the contract is agreed, is confirmed, now the slave goes out of the control of the master. So if master orders him to stay, he does not have to obey. He became partially free, so he can go and make trading, etc. وَلَمْ يَخْرُجْ مِنْ مِلْكِهِ, but he will not go out of his position. So he will be under the position of the master, but he will not be under his control. Where is your hair? Because they were hanging, so it just no?
I was spending more time maintaining my hair than women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, you do not go behind, because when they hang, it just falls off too large. Slim ones are better, We're talking about these birds. Okay, Sayyid. فيجوز له البيع والشراء. So because he became mukatab, so now it became so he's fully free in terms of traveling and buying and selling. ولا يجوز له التزوج إلا أن يأذن له المولى. But he cannot marry unless master gives him permission. Now my question to you guys, isn't it that mukatab became free in terms of transactions? Why he cannot marry? What do you think?
Is it because if he marries, he has to give mahar and he has to maintain? The only reason he's got that permission is so that he can get money and give it to his master. So if he starts spending elsewhere, it's not obeying the contract.
No, but isn't it that, for example, when he will be traveling, so he will be also spending some money?
His travels will be for the purpose of his to fulfill his contract.
No, when he's married, that's also for, to fulfill the thing, because when he's married, peace of mind, so he can trade better. Yeah.
If he gets married, then does she also become under the ownership of the man?
I was expecting this statement from here, No. If she is free lady, she's not under anyone's possession, isn't she? But if she is someone else's slave, so she will remain slave of that other person. Okay, so what did you want to say with this? I mean, you wanted to say that it's good for the master, isn't it? So you was supporting that it should be valid.
No.
So how?
As in, she'll be going into slavery, but instead that's not the case.
Mm.
Is it because he's still technically a slave?
So
So he can't. He's still limited. His master only give his permission to trade in a particular way. So he can't fulfill all the contracts. He's still limited because of that.
Good point, actually. I would say good, yeah. Anything else? Well, isn't it that contract just muamalat? Can you specify the meaning? Or can you specify takhsis? Takhsis is on the lafz. Am I right? So he said, you are mukatab. Okay, which by iqtida al-nas means you can trade, and iqtida is meaning. Can you specify a meaning saying muamalat, only some muamalat and not other muamalat? Can you do that from the usuli point of view? You cannot, can you? But solid point, actually, good point. Anything else? Yes, Eddie. So
If he gets married, he's going to be given, fulfilling his responsibilities.
no, well, isn't it that when he travels, so he will be paying for the hotel, so there will be some expense, and traveling is included automatically, even though there will be some expenses for that. So you are exempting some types of muamalat and giving permission for some other type, and that could be by lafz and not by making takhsis on the meaning, because takhsis al-ma'na batil. It's quite easy, actually. The answer is quite easy. You guys are thinking too deep. Think on shallow level. It's quite easy. Why he can travel, he can buy and sell with the possibility of losing the capital, but he cannot marry. So what's the difference between this muamalat, buying, selling, traveling, and that one, which is marriage? You actually started the answer.
Only because he's gonna always lose because he has to give mahar and he has to maintain, so there'll be no.
No, he will gain. He may gain also.
There's the possibility that he can't fulfill the contract means he can't maintain for his wife.
So 3/4 of answer. Half there, little bit here. The last quarter. Yes. They're just watching, you know. They're just watching. The last bit. Actually, you did answer. You did answer.
The actual slave will need permission from the master.
But he's not fully slave, isn't he?
Because of the possibility that he can be.
That exactly. That's what it is. So when he's traveling, in the condition when he will admit that he failed, he goes back. So traveling, buying, all of that will stop. But in the scenario of marriage, when he fails to fulfill the condition, will marriage automatically will be nullified or not? No. Do you understand? Excellent, well done. As I said, it's quite on the shallow level. The answer was in the shallow level. Good one, anyway. Then he says, وَلَا يَهَبُ وَلَا يَتَصَدَّقُ إِلَّا بِشَيْءٍ يَسِيرٍ. And also giving gifts and giving charity is not permissible for him unless it is very small one. Okay, not the big ones. Okay. So the gifts that you do, you know, for the ones who are behind you, so all of that will be not valid. I'm waiting, you know, said I'm waiting for the numbers tonight. ولا يتكفل. Kafala, do you remember the issue of kafala last year? What is the kafala? Two types of kafala. Kafala bin nafs and kafala bil mal. So he cannot do that because it's pure loss. You understand? So he cannot do that. فإن ولد له ولد من أمة له دخل في كتابته. So if he buys a she slave and she gives birth, okay, so this his child will be included into the mukataba. If he fulfills, both will be free, or else both will come back to be slaves. وكان حكمه مثل حكم أبيه وكسبه له. So all of the so the status the status of his father will be applied on him also, on the son also. So if he frees himself, so he will free his son also.
He would normally go to the mother.
Sorry?
The condition the child the mother.
Yes, and the mother is slave of his. Understand? So if he loses, so the slave's walad is not free. Walad of the master is free. He's just slave, you know. And because so isn't it that the mother? So mother is slave of the slave. So as soon as the mukataba is nullified, so his position will go back to the master. Yeah. Okay, Sayyid. فإن زوج المولى عبده من أمته ثم كاتبها فولدت منه ولدا دخل في كتابتها وكان كسبه لها. Obviously, it's good. So if let's say that I have a she slave and slave, I will marry them to one another, and then she slave gives birth. Okay. So now and then I will make mukataba. Obviously, the correction is that mukataba comes before giving birth. So both will be mukatab. Am I right? Because when he was born, his mother was mukataba. Okay. We said that child gets the status of the mother. Okay. Look, isn't he contradicting himself? In the previous example, he said the slave, if he buys a she slave and gets walad from her, okay, I mean makes her walad, and so his child will be in the kitaba, in the mukataba. But in here he says that it will be in the mukataba of the mother. He's contradicting himself. Obviously, the second position is the default position of the Hanafis, because according to Hanafi school, child will follow the status of the mother. He's contradicting, am I right? Just in the previous example, he said that he will follow the father. Father is mukatab, he buys a she-slave gives birth. So, it is walad of the mukatab. Quduri said the child is also mukatab with his father. But in here he is saying the child is actually mukatab with the mother. He's contradicting. What do you think? Yes, go ahead.
I don't think it's a contradiction. Because
Why? Yes. No, he's saying, what did he say? Look, فإن ولد له ولد من أمة له مكاتب دخل في كتابة he and not كتابة ha. So with the father. Mukatab with the father. And he comes back straight after that. He says, دخل في كتابتها, into her contract. So which one?
In the second one, they both mukatab of the master.
Which one?
In the second scenario.
No, ثم كاتبها. So, I have two slaves, Ahmad and let's say Aisha. And then I marry off my she-slave to my slave. She and then I make her mukataba, and then she gives birth, but not him. He's not mukatab. So according to the first statement, he should remain into the status of the father, who is not mukatab. But in here he says no, with the mother. But in the first example, he said the child will go with the kitaba of the father. He's contradicting. And our default condition is child follow the status of the mother and not the father. Yes, what do you think?
the child's father in both is mukatab.
No. In the second, he's not mukatab. In the first one. In the second, he's just slave. Look. وَإِنْ زَوَّجَ الْمَوْلَى عَبْدَهُ مِنْ أَمَتِهِ. So he marries off his she-slave to his slave. ثُمَّ كَاتَبَهَا. Then he makes mukataba of her, she-slave. فَوَلَدَتْ مِنْهُ وَلَدًا. He gave birth from the husband, who is slave. دخل في كتابتها. So the child will be also included into her contract, mukataba contract. Yes, ladies.
Sheikh, would it mean that if either the child's father or mother is a mukatab, then he
So means our principle is not applied then, isn't it? We said child follows the status of the mother. But now you are saying either.
No, when it says katabaha, it's not katabahuma.
It's katabaha.
It says in English, says it gives contract to both of them.
So means it's incorrect translation. Katabaha. Do you have authentic copy? What does he say in there?
It says katabahuma.
Okay, regardless, because he says fi kitabatiha. Ha, which is consistent with our principle. So in our scenario, fi kitabatiha, if father fulfills and frees himself, he is free. But if mother will be unable, child will remain slave. Kitabatiha. Understand? So regardless of the if it's ثم كاتبها or كاتبهما, regardless to that, because في كتابتها, that's the most important thing. Which is consistent, this is consistent with the default principle. But what about the previous example?
In the first one, the slave is slave of the mukatab.
Excellent. That's what it is. Because in the first scenario, mother is not independent lady. She is the slave of the mukatab. Understand? Excellent. Well done. So it means the default principle is still there. I think we have to say that we have to do some type of rewards, you know, appreciation, encouragement, you know, to all of them, doing very well. وإن وطئ المولى مكاتبته لزمه العقر. So if obviously we said that mukatab person is not fully slave and not fully free too. Okay, so according to the Ahl Sunnah as well as Shia, permissibility of the sexual activities is only applicable for the fully slave lady. But if she's mukataba, so it's not there. So if he has sex with her, there have to be punishment, which is mahar, but with the punishment. Uqr. وإن جنى عليها أو على ولدها لزمته الجناية. And if he hurts them, hurts the mukataba or her child, so there is penalty, financial compensation. But what about if there would not be mukataba, but if it would be fully slave person, there would not be financial punishment. وإن أتلف مالا لها غرمه أو غرمته أو غرمه is fine, but it should be غرمته because she is the one who is charging. So if he damaged her property, the mukataba, his mukataba's property, so then he's responsible to compensate that also, because from one side she became free. Okay, so not fully free but not fully slave also. So let's suppose that if master with normal slave, if he would damage for example the clothes of the slave, he's not responsible to refund. But with mukatab, he is responsible for that. He has to refund. Hey khuda. وإذا اشترى المكاتب أباه أو ابنه دخل في كتابته. If a mukatab slave buys his father or his son, دخل في كتابته, they will be included into his kitab also. We cannot say that they will be free. Why not? Isn't it hadith explicit?
The same reason before, because he's a muqaddib and he's got possibility of going back.
Exactly. وإن اشترى أم ولده مع ولدها دخل ولدها في الكتابة ولم يجوز بيعها. وإن اشترى أم ولده مع ولدها دخل ولدها في الكتابة. Well, it's exactly the same example which we discussed. So let's suppose that you have walad. So for example, slave, he's married another slave to another slave, but whose master is different person. Okay, so when he becomes mukatab and then he buys her, buys his walad and her child, okay, so the child becomes into the mukataba agreement of his father. We have discussed that. The scenario is, for example, let's suppose that I'm mukatab and I was married to this slave lady and she is slave to someone else, for example, and then she gave birth from me. So now I became mukatab and then I bought her with her child. Okay, so she's my walad. So the child will be included into my contract. Yeah. So, but what about the mother? So when I pay off my the money, okay, so my son becomes free. But what about the mother? Isn't she included into my mukataba? What happens to her? Sorry? Exactly. She will remain because walad. She's walad already. Nothing will change. Okay. Excellent. Well done. Sidi, are you doing some type of like encouragement, like gifts, etc.? Yeah, so I think maybe once a year or something. They all deserve. They all deserve. Except your partner, hidden partner. Yesterday when I found, detected him, so you see, he didn't come back today. Yes, yeah, was it between 3 or 2? Because yes, he said 2, so it was that guy, Every day we have a new story. You cannot repeat. Even if you repeat, you will not have the same enjoyment as you have to be present to enjoy. Repeating, you never enjoy. Okay, Sayyidi. Then he says, وإن اشترى ذا رحم محرم منه لا ولاد له لم يدخل في كتابته عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله. Okay, so obviously he already said if mukatab buys his father or his son, they will be included into the mukataba. But what about anyone beside them, beside father and son? So Abu Hanifa says they will not be included into the mukataba. Okay, so which means when he will free himself, they will be automatically freed also because rahim. But which means that if slave will pay off, if slave will pay off, so they will remain as commodity and not as mukatab. Okay, which means in the scenario when slave will say I'm unable to fulfill, to pay back, so then we'll evaluate his relatives. So if their value will pay off, so they will free him, or else they're just commodities. Understand? So what's the difference of being mukatab or non-mukatab? So in the case of mukatab, they will share to pay off with him exactly the same amount, and not being mukatab, not being included into the mukataba, it will mean that they will remain as a property. Okay, so in the scenario of mukatab, slave will be unable to sell them. Let's suppose that I'm mukatab and I buy my father. I cannot sell him, but he will be with me, but to pay off. But what about if I buy my uncle? Okay, so I can sell him because he's not included into the contract, but he's just property. He will remain as a commodity. That's what it means. Sorry? They will remain as a slave, yeah. Only no, even the parent, even father and son will be slave if he will be unable to pay back. But only the difference is, after buying my father, I cannot sell him. He will be part of the mukataba. So it's like two mukatab slaves. They cannot sell one another, isn't it? So, but in the scenario of the rest of the relatives, they're commodities. So for example, I buy my auntie, I can sell her because she's not part of the mukataba. That's only the difference. وإذا عجز المكاتب عن نجم نظر الحاكم في حاله فإن كان له دين يقتضيه أو مال يخدم عليه لم يعجل أو لم يعجل بتعجيزه وانتظر عليه اليومين أو الثلاثة وإن لم يكن له وجه وطلب المولى تعجيزه عجزه الحاكم وفسخ الكيس. Okay, so what about it was installments? On monthly basis, slave has to pay, let's say, £1,000 for the length of 2 years. So slave was unable to, he missed one of the installments, and master will go to the judge to get the bankruptcy confirmed, which means that slave will go back, contract will be nullified. So then judge will look into the scenario. So if there is some possibility of some income, soon income, okay, in that case, judge will not nullify the contract, but he will wait. But what about the time limit? So as you can see in the Zahir Riwaya, يومين أو الثلاثة. Okay, so keep in your mind when Zahir Riwaya will limit a time, that is the official Hanafi position. But isn't it that Imam Muhammad in here, he's saying just randomly saying 2-3 days, couple of days. Okay, possibly yes, but Hanafis do not take it like that. Do you understand? So they take it literally. So maximum of 3 days. Okay, but obviously in my own understanding, Imam Muhammad was giving just random numbers. Okay, but the most important thing is in my understanding, which is not official position. So if slave will be able to pay off before the next installment, it's done. And I think Imam Muhammad said 2-3 days, just random. We also say, isn't it? So for example, when are you going to come? Just give me 2-3 days. We don't mean 2-3 days. We mean week, for example. Especially us, you know, apne style. It's like 2-3 months, you know. So the most important thing is the installment. So if he will be able to pay off before that, so then it should be done. But also, it's the judgment of the judge actually. Okay, so sometimes it's very possible that, you know, master is in very critical condition. In that case, he does not wait for the next do you understand? So judge has to be wise. Judge has to, but the latest payment should be before the next installment. Okay, so if slave is unable to pay it before that, so he will not be the judge will not be looking into any other excuse, but he will say contract is nullified, you are going back to the slavery. I remember once I had strange breakfast. Do you know, sometimes you eat oily or something which creates like a you know. And then it was in Kitli, it was 2006 maybe. And then I used to have a habit of attaching it into my, do you know that jalabiya, do you know dishidasha, do you know Arabian one? And I used to attach it, and it's exactly in the same place where these bubbles come out, you know. You know. So, Qala Abu Hanifa, bul 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 bul, you know. It's mu'tamad position again, bul 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 bul, you know. In the next lesson, so one of my students used to record my lessons, but he would just listen before editing, you know. So next time he came, Sheikh, is it okay if we do not apply it here, but somewhere else? I said, why? He said, because we don't want that bulbul business, you know. Sometimes it's good, you know. because you need that background also, not only my voice but background, a backing track, so it was backing track. اوكي سيدي. وقال ابو يوسف رحمه الله تعالى لا يعجزه حتى يتوالى عليه نجمان وإن عجز المكاتبة عاد إلى حكم الرق. So according to Abu Yusuf, it's not 2-3 days as Imam Muhammad said, but it is 2 installments. Okay, so it's 2 installments. But again, as I said, I don't think Imam Muhammad meant 2-3 days, but I think most likely until next installment. Okay, but as you see, according to Abu Yusuf, it's not 2-3 days, but it is 2 installments. So if he will be unable to fulfill the payment of 2 installments, so then a judge will nullify the contract. وإذا عجز المكاتب أو وإذا عجز القاضي المكاتبة عاد إلى حكم الرق. And as soon as judge will state the nullification of it, so the mukatab will go back to be raqiq. Raqiq means slave. الرق is slavery. وكان ما في يده من الاكتساب لمو, and whatever. So when contract is nullified, definitely sometimes mukatab will have something in his hand, isn't it? Like profits of businesses, etc. So all of that will go back to be masters. فإن مات المكاتب وله مال لم تنفسخ الكتابة وقضى ما عليه من ماله وحكم بعتقه في آخر جزء من أجزاء حياته وما بقي فهو ميراث لورثته ويعتق أولاده. Okay, so let's suppose that there was this contract, mukataba, and mukatab dies. Okay, so then we'll look into the money which is in his hand. So if that money is sufficient to pay off the contract, so then we say that he died as a free man, which means that if he has a children, so that leftover money will go back to be their inheritance. I want to ask you a question, guys. Let's suppose that free man dies, okay, and then he has children who are slave, and free man is very wealthy. Okay, so after the death, who will receive the inheritance? And he has no one except his children, who are, all of them are slave. Yeah, who will receive?
Will it be used to pay off this slave? Make them free?
Sorry?
Will it be used to pay off, buy out those slaves to his children to make them free?
MashaAllah, you have Quranic mindset actually. But no. According to the Athari fiqh, no. But according to the Quranic concept, yes. What's going to happen to the money?
Are the slaves, Mukatab slaves are just normal slaves?
Normal ones.
And does the money go to the master?
MashaAllah. We have Athari faqih here. Exactly. Well done. Okay, why do you say that?
Because the slave doesn't own anything.
Excellent. His position belongs to the master's. Excellent. Well done, MashaAllah. Sometimes quiet people, they understand more than you expect. So when you see someone quiet, do not think that he's just ignorant guy. No. Maybe he's digesting. Well done, mashallah. Okay, Sayyidi. Okay. وإن لم يترك وفاء وترك ولدا مولودا في الكتابة سعى في كتابة أبيه على نجومه فإذا أدى حكمنا بعتق أبيه قبل موته وعتق الولد. Okay, so but what about if Mukatab who died, he did not leave anything, money, but it's the same scenario that we were disputing, if you remember. He had Walad and he had a child. We said his child will be included into the Mukatab. Do you remember? So what happens in that scenario? Father died, okay, but he didn't leave any money. But there is child. We said child is included into the Mukataba. If you remember, we said if it is father or son, they will be Mukatab also and not commodity. Do you remember? So what happens now?
The son now become the Makatib and work and fulfill the contract.
And then what happens if he fulfills?
Child is free.
Child is free. Excellent. And we consider that even father died as a free because contract is fulfilled. Excellent. Yes. And child becomes automatically free also. So child is not commodity, not slave, but mukatab as his father. As we said, father and son will become mukatab. Okay, but everyone else, but if it would be someone else, for example, auntie, okay, or brother, for example, they would go back to be in the position of the master because they are not mukatabs. وإن ترك ولدا مشترا في الكتابة قيل له إما أن تؤدي الكتابة حالا وإلا رددت في الرق. But what about if he has a son, but the son is not born in the during the kitaba, but Mukatab bought his own son during the kitaba. So in that case, which obviously he's part of the Mukataba. Okay, but in this scenario, we give him two options. Either he pays off the money straight away, or he will go back to the slavery. Now my question, what is the difference between the first scenario and the second? In the first scenario, obviously, he was born in the Mukataba. But in the second scenario, son was bought by the during the Mukataba. What's the difference? Isn't it the same? So isn't it that we should give both of them, because both of them are part of the Mukataba, so we should give them the time which is agreed, included into the contract. What's the difference? Yes, Eddie.
The first one, the contract has been fulfilled by the son, or in the second, it has not yet been fulfilled.
No. Even in the first scenario, as soon as father dies, son will continue. So do you know that time limit will be still applied, but on the son? In the first scenario, when son is born during the contract. But in the second scenario, son is bought by the father. So as soon as father dies, so he says, إما أن تؤدي الكتاب, either you pay حالا straight away وإلا رددت في الرق, or you will go back to be slave. So straight away. But what about the time limit? Not applied. What's the difference?
What do you mean that he bought his son?
So let's suppose that I became mukatab and my son was slave. During the mukataba, I bought him. According to our school, he's not commodity, but he's included into the mukataba. So if I die, he will be told to pay off straight away, or he will go back to the slavery. But what about the contract which is made with me for 10 years? Okay, it is halfway through. That extra 5 years will not be given to him. But in the first scenario, after the mukataba, I bought a she slave and she gave birth from me. And Quduri says that time limit will be applied on him, but not on the boat one. Do you understand? So what's the difference? Again, not too deep to think about, on shallow level. What's the difference between the son of the mukatab being born during the kitaba or the son was bought by the father during the kitaba? So in the scenario of being born, he will continue, the time which is given to his father. But in the scenario of when he's bought by his father, the time limit is not applicable. But contract is still there. But only he has to pay straight away. As soon as father dies, he has to pay straight away. What's the difference?
He's not a part of that original Muqataba contract.
No, but what about the son who's born? He's not part either.
But because he was already in a Muqataba contract at that point, then he was born, then he came into the Muqataba as well.
No, but okay, and
But in this case, the son was already born, he wasn't in the Muqataba contract. He never came into it.
Son's natural state was a slave.
in both of the cases,
In the first one, has it got something to do with the Walad? She becomes free because the Muqataba.
No, Walad does not become free unless Mukatab becomes free and then dies. No, it's nothing to do with the Walad. It's only between the father and son. You nearly said it. Just complete it. Maybe some of the teachers would accept your answer saying it's full answer, but for me just one point is missing.
The contract from the valid between the father and son, or not contract?
No, both became part of the contract. Yes, ladies.
Can you just repeat the scenario one more time?
I'm Mukatab. I buy she slave and she gives birth from me. Quduri says father and son get the Mukataba. They included. When I die, so the time period my son will continue. The second scenario, I'm Mukatab, but I buy my son who is slave. He's part of the Mukataba except for one thing. He cannot continue the time limit, but as soon as I die, my master will say either you pay straight away or either you become slave. What's the difference? Why in the first scenario the son had the full contract with the time limit? In the second, he didn't have.
Before, because when you mentioned that if he does have a son, then he becomes like the father in the contract.
No, yeah, that is the scenario that we're talking about. But now he's differentiating between them. He's saying in the scenario of being born is full time, but in the scenario of being bought by the father, as soon as he dies, he has to pay, or else he becomes.
Is it because when the child is born during the contract, he becomes like the father?
So, but what about in the second scenario? As soon as he buys, he becomes as a father.
In the second one, his contract's with his father.
No, even in the second scenario, in both of the scenarios, Sedi. In both of the scenarios, contract is with the father. But because son comes afterward, but in one scenario by being born, in the second because father buys him. You answered the question. You answered, just complete it. Just very last point is missing.
The first situation, if the child is born within the contract, so then the child that is born, he has the same status as the father.
So even in the second.
In the second, he doesn't have the same status in the sense that he doesn't get the time.
No, yes, why? So that's my point. He does not get the time. Why? Why not?
Because Qaduri said shit.
Because he said
Because the master already knew that he's got a son. Just Muqataba.
does make a difference. Okay, Sadi, look, in the second scenario, when Mukatab buys, so you know the money is crucial point in the Mukataba, am I right? Okay, so he spent some money. Instead of spending, maybe he would be able to free himself. Do you understand? So when he spent the money to buy his son, so it's not fully as first scenario, because he spent the money of the mukataba for something. So he is part of son but part of trading also. So we cannot give him the full status. Do you understand? So that's only the difference. Okay. But based on that, then Hanafis should be consistent in one scenario, which is I do not buy my son, but someone gives me as a gift. Do you understand? So the money of the mukataba was not spent. So are we Hanafis going to implement the same principle there or not? Hanafi said no. Okay, so anyway, it is a matter of trading. In the first scenario, I did not spend the money, but in the second, I did spend. So instead of spending, maybe I would be able to free myself. So money was spent. So it did cause some, you can say, inconvenience for the master, because money of the money which is supposed to be going to him was spent for something else. Understand? So which you can say affected on the plans of the master.
Doesn't it cost money to raise the child?
Sorry?
Doesn't it cost money to raise a child?
Are you married? You're not married. That's why you don't know how it happens, you know. Yes. No. Even for example, even when you buy a she slave, for example, or slaves to trade, you will be spending money while they will be staying in your warehouse. So you will be spending some money. Do you understand? So expenses unavoidable. Even if you buy cars, okay, for the trading, you have to pay. So expenses are not problem. But in terms of buying, so you spend. In the first scenario, you do not spend the money, but in the second, you do spend the money. He knows.
How is the master losing out?
Sorry?
How is the master losing out?
So because, for example, let's suppose that we made installments, okay, in the scenario when my mukatab, okay, marries and gives birth, for example, so that's not affecting on the installments, am I right? But when he buys his son, that may affect on the installments, am I right? Because he will spend some certain amount of money to buy, and possibly because of that he will be unable to pay one of the installments. Do you understand? But when mukatab will have a baby child, that will not affect on the installments. Does make sense? Yeah, so it affects on the plans or on initial contract, I mean initial goal behind making contract with his slave. So it's because of that. So he does not get the full rights of. Okay, Sayyidi. وإذا كاتب المسلم عبده على خمر أو خنزير أو على قيمة نفسه فالكتابة فاسدة فإن أدى الخمر والخنزير عتق ولزمه أن يسعى في قيمته ولا ينقص من المسمى ويزاد عليه. Obviously, just going back to the البيع الفاسد and البيع الباطل. So selling or making contract on a pork or on a wine, what is that? What bottle? Why?
Because there's no value in the Sharia.
Excellent, because it does not have a value. Okay, so it's the same as I'm selling you this oxygen here for 10 pounds. So that is bottle. Okay. If you remember, we also said that Quduri is not consistent with the terminology. Sometimes he will label the batil as a fasid and he will label the fasid as batil, if you remember. وإذا كاتب المسلم عبده على خمر أو خنزير أو على قيمة نفسه فالكتابة فاسدة. So let's suppose that Muslim master makes a contract with his slave for 10 kgs of a pork meat. So we say it is bottle transaction. وإن أدى الخمر والخنزير عتق ولزمه أن يسعى في قيمته ولا ينقص من المسمى ويزاد. This scenario could be only right if the slave is kitabi. But if slave is Muslim, even when he gives the pork, it should not be valid at all. So for example, do you remember in the Kitab al-Nikah, Muslim marrying Christian lady, and Christian lady making mahar as, for example, wine. Do you remember? We said it is valid. Nikah is. Do you remember? Okay, and then what was mahar? Value of the wine. Do you remember? We spoke about it. So the same is applicable in here. So I think this is إذا كتب المسلم. So it's the master is only Muslim, but the slave is not Muslim. It's Christian or something else. So only in that scenario, if Christian slave, for example, brings and pays off what has been agreed, so in here we cannot fully nullify, because for the Christian it is valid, okay, but only for Muslim it's not valid. So what are we going to do? So we say the slave has to pay off the value. He is free, but he has to pay off the value of the wine, and he can take back his wine. وإن كاتبه على حيوان غير موصوف فالكتابة جائزة. In the bay'a transaction, if you sell an animal, for example, you say one cow is for £10. Is it valid or not? Why?
Because the cow is not by the mission, so it's the value. Like, you can't sell a cow in like quantity.
Why?
Because the cow, you sell it by like, because you can't specify.
Excellent, because there is no way of specifying. Because you say cow, between two cows there could be difference of £1,000, you know. So because of that you cannot do that. But in the kitaba it is valid. So do you remember, for example, the default condition of the buyu', that extra shurut will nullify the buyu'. Do you remember? But what about the marriage? It does not affect on the value. If you remember, same thing is about the freedom. So as you can see, he is pushing it toward that side. So if this would be with the buying and selling transactions, so he would say batil. It is not permissible. So he says وإن كاتبه على حيوان غير موصوف فالكتابة جائزة.
Sheikh, so why did we say it differently here then?
Sorry?
So why did he change?
What is in your copy? It's the same place. If you can just read it. وإن كاتبه على حيوان غير موصوف. No, is it غير is there or not? غير is there. We have to double check again. But anyway, if you, this is quite consistent with the position of Abu Hanifa. So anything which is encouraged in Quran, so Abu Hanifa tries to cross over the conditions which affects on it, you know. Yeah, so freedom, Quran encourages that, isn't it? Marriage, Quran again encourages. So that's why non-valid conditions do not affect on the validity of anything which is encouraged according to by Quran.
Okay, so in the previous example, he tried to protect the master from being inconvenienced in one of them. He tried to protect the master from being inconvenienced. And here, he seems to...
No, because both of them are agreeing. Both of them are agreeing. Both of them are happy, you know. So master is happy to free his slave, and slave is ready to pay. So both are happy. But what about in the previous scenario? So master was affected. Do you understand? So protecting the right of both of them is more important than this. But when both are happy, so crossing over the condition to make this to happen, that's more important. Yes, Saidi.
So if they do this, is the slave paying the value
Exactly. Yeah. So it will be with like a standard. Okay. So normally in that culture, if they say animals, so for example, in Pakistan, in some places, when they say animals, so normally they mean goat. In Uzbekistan, it means sheep. Do you understand? In Russia, for example, it's cow. Do you understand? So we go with what they say. I don't know. It's quite strange, how normally they modify the appearance of Abu Hanif, but it's really good. I like it, So غير is not there in your copy. So it is there. It's there. Do I have any manuscripts or anything else? MashaAllah, it's really good. So حيوان موصوف, I would understand it's consistent, but in here غير موصوف, MashaAllah. Okay, Sayyidi. وإن كاتبه على ثوب لم يسمي جنسه لم يجوز وإن أداه لم يعتق. But what about if he will say, I'm going to give you cloth, but without specifying. So he says it's not valid. What is the difference? What is the difference between the first scenario and the second? Isn't it that non-specified in both of them? The commodity which he is paying off to free himself, not specified. Why it is valid in the cow, okay, but in here it's not valid?
Because these clothes can have like many different varieties.
No, animals also.
So like if you just say like cow, like you mentioned, you get a standard. You don't get like a standard.
Okay, strong point. Good point. Anything else? Yeah, it is close, yeah. You guys are telling, you are hitting the bullseye, but your answer should be by fiqh terminologies. Your students of fiqh answer to the question by fiqh terminologies. Your answer is correct, yes. Make it converted into the fiqh language. If you remember in the very beginning part of the buyu, he was differentiating between the animals and, for example, barley, okay, and then the cloth, fabric. What was the difference? So same thing is in here. Excellent. Because quantity, length does not describe the cloth, but quantity of kgs and liters and pieces describe the commodity, but length does not describe the commodity. So that's why with the fabric, extra condition, extra specification is needed, just to remove just little bit of ambiguity. Excellent, well done. So just keep in your mind, so kgs, okay, and liters are agreed upon to be specification or specifying, and quantity pieces accepted if there is no big difference. Do you remember? Okay, so but what about the meters? Is not at all. Okay, but you have to give some other description so that we can guess. Okay, so in the scenario of the cloth, we don't have even that one. So that's why we cannot go with this. Well done, mashallah. MashaAllah, Sayyidi, you have got fuqaha ready. Yeah, within less than 3 years. Alhamdulillah. Within less than 3 years. In Kitle, I produced average level fuqaha within about 1 year. The problem was that they did not continue, continuity is needed, After completing, you should not stop, because you forget then. So we started in 2006. By the end of 2007, they were already, discussing, about the fiqh masail, the qawaid. But after that, they just left it.
What was the next step?
Now, after this, it should be qawaid fiqhiyya. They're already doing very well, with the qawaid. As you know, there are 7 subjects, isn't it? Qawaid, then dawabid, then istithna'at, and then nawadir. And Hayrat, 7. So maybe Ashbah wa Nadar of Nujaym after this. 1 year enough. So then they get ijazah for the fatwa, for the iftar, ready. So from my side, I would already give ijazah for iftar to few of them already. Yeah, but just to stay on safe side, ashbah wa nadhair, and I can give. اوكي سيدي. وإن كتب عبديه كتابة واحدة ب1000 درهم إن أديا عتقا وإن عجز ردا إلى الرق. It's just technical things. If he makes one contract with 2 of his slaves to pay, for example, £1,000, so if they both pay off, they both will be free, or both will become slave. Because it's one contract. So it's not that one of them will pay half, becomes free, and the second will come back to be. No, it's one contract. Because we have got this dhabita. What's the difference between dhabita and qaida? So qaida, it goes into many chapters of fiqh, but dhabita, so that is qaida kulliya. Qaida juz'iyya stays only with one chapter, and dhabita, it is only for 2 or 3 masail of the same chapter. So it is lesser than qaida juz'iyya also. But some of our mashayikh, when they say dhabita, they mean qaida juz'iyya. Okay, so it is the dhabita in here is, actually it is qaida. You are not allowed to split the one contract of the person. Tafriqul aqd. Okay, tafriqul aqd is batil. So you cannot. So maybe, for example, I'm selling tomato. So you are not allowed to buy only the good ones by leaving, for example, the bad ones. Why is not permissible? Because you are doing tafriq. So in my favor to sell all together. So you are not allowed to damage that for me, to harm me. So why? You are doing tafriqul aqd. You are doing tafriq. So in my favor, so I'm deliberately willing to sell, to make contract with both of them together. So if they go, let them to go together, or if they stay, because one of them cannot do the job. Do you understand? So tafriq, you cannot do tafriq. So that's why contract is one. So either both free themselves or either both stay. وإن كاتبهما على أن كل واحد منهما ضامن على الآخر جازت الكتابة وأيهما أدى عتق ويرجع على شريكه بنصف ما أدى. So but what about if in contract it's one contract, but then I say, so one can one is wakil actually, or kafil of both. So means if one will pay off for both, so both are free, but then the person who paid for both, he will go to chess up to get refund, because he acted as kafil, okay, or as wakil. وإن أعتق المولى مكاتبه عتق بإعتاقه وسقط عنه مال الكتاب. Okay, it's quite. So let's suppose that I have a mukatab, slave. Okay, after making contract, I said, look, you are a good person, you are just free. Is it valid or not? What is this? Yes, it is valid, because even though partially he is free, but he's still my slave in my position. So I can just give away my position saying you are free. وإذا مات مولى الكتابة لم تنفسخ الكتابة. But what about if the master will die, will the mukataba will be nullified? We say no, it is still ongoing, because we have something called mirath, inheritance. So if he pays off, so that money will go back to the inheritance, but if he will be unable to pay off, so he will go back to the inheritance. So after the death of the master, we will say وَقِيلَ لَهُ, we will say to the slave أَدِّ الْمَالَ إِلَى وَرَثَةِ الْمَوْلَى عَلَى نُجُومِهِ. So we say to the mukatab, continue paying the same agreed upon amount to the by the installments, on the installments. فَإِنْ أَعْتَقَهُ أَحَدُ الْوَرَثَةِ لَمْ يَنْفُذْ عِتْقُهُ. But what about if one of the inheritance, so for example son, master's son will free him? That is not valid, because now he became inheritance of everyone has a right. وَإِنْ أَعْتَقُوهُ جَمِيعًا عُتِقَ. But what about if all of them will free him? Yeah, of course, because it is their right. وَسَقَطَ عَنْهُ مَالُ الْكِتَابَةِ. So he does not have to pay anymore. وإذا كاتب المولى أم ولد جاز فإن مات المولى سقط عنها مال الكتاب. Okay, so I have walad and then I made mukatab, because walad, even though after my death she is going to be free automatically, but she can obtain her freedom even before that. So I can make mukatab with her. But if I die before she pays off, so she does not have to pay anymore, isn't it? Because she's already free. walad. وإن ولدت مكاتبته منه فهو بالخيار إن شاء مضت على الكتابة فهي بالخيار وإن شاءت عجزت نفسها وصارت ولد له. Okay, so let's suppose that I have mukataba and then she became my walad. Now she has two options. Either she will say, look, I'm not working anymore, I'm your walad, after my death she's becoming free, or she will continue. Okay, so her choice. Hey Khuda. وإن كاتب مدبرته جاز. Okay, so we have mudabbar or mudabbara. Who is the mudabbar? Who remembers? Mudabbar. Exactly, yeah. So the mudabbar is automatically free after the death, but even then we said before that he can still obtain his freedom. So I do mukataba with him. فإن مات المولى, so if master dies ولا مال له غيرها كانت بالخيار بين أن تسعى في ثلث قيمتها أو جميع مال الكتاب. But what about if in this scenario master dies but he does not leave anything, so no any inheritance. So in this scenario, so either she will pay off 2/3 of her own value, or because if you remember we said in the mudabbara she's not in the mudabbar is different to walad, am I right? In the mudabbar, because mudabbar is included into the will, do you remember? And person who is dying, he can make a will from only 1/3 of his wealth, do you remember? So right now we're in that scenario. Okay, so either he will pay off, so he will be acting as a mudabbar to pay off the, like as a will, or he will be acting as mukatab to pay off everything. Do you understand? So both options are there. وإن دبر مكاتبته صح التدبير ولها الخيار إن شاءت مضت على الكتابة وإن شاءت عجزت نفسها وصارت مدبرة. Okay, so I made my she slave into the mukatab or mukataba, and then I also made tadbir. I said after my death you are free. Okay, so now she has two options. Either she will be acting as mukatab or either as mudabbar. Both of the options are there. فإن مضت على كتابتها فمات المولى ولا مولى له فهي بالخيار إن شاءت سعت في ثلثي مال الكتابة أو ثلثي قيمتها عند أبي حنيفة رحمه الله. Okay, so after the death of the master, so she has two options. Either she will pay off 2/3 of the of her own value, so that will be mudabbara, or either she will be acting as mukataba, and then she will pay off 2/3 of the agreed amount. So it means she will choose either to be mukatab or mudabbar.
Why does she pay 2/3 of the remaining amount if she's muqatab? Why not all?
MashaAllah, what do you think is? Yeah, think about it and let me know. Tough question. Who can help us? Why is not all in the mukataba? Okay, so in mudabbar we can understand because we'll accept, but what about the mukataba? The scenario is, let's suppose that I have mukataba lady, and then I tell her, look, after my death you are free. So she became mudabbar also. Now she can act either as mukatab or as mudabbar. And then when I die, so logically thinking, what is going to happen? Either she will be acting as mukatab, which means she has to pay off everything. Abu Hanifa says no, 2/3 only. Why 2/3?
It's not 2/3 of the contract.
Yes. Yes.
Muqatab first and then mudabbar. Does that make a difference?
Sorry?
Whether she is mudabbar and then becomes muqatab.
Why it should make difference?
Is it because she's a mudabbar, so that 1/3 goes anyway?
Okay.
2/3.
Yeah, because that is mudabbar. So in the mudabbar we understand. Yes, makes sense.
She probably paid small amount, she only paid some of it off.
So then he had to specify that whatever is left, but he's saying 2/3. You know, you ask question by which I assume that you're understanding, mashallah. You're understanding the fiqh.
Because now that he's made mudabbar,
So,
a third of the wealth.
no, but look. What was in the previous one? Look. So in the previous scenario, so she has two options: either 2/3 of her own value, because 1/3 by will of the master is freed, or جميع مال الكتاب, or everything of the kitab agreed upon. But in here, ثلثي 2/3 of the kitaba. Keep in your mind that Abu Hanifa has got one thing which Sahban do not do, so that's why he's specifying Abu Hanifa. What is that principle that Abu Hanifa uses when he's on his own? What do we call it? First of all, it is conflicting with qiyas. Am I right? What was the rational reasoning? What is the actual position based on the rational reasoning? If it is kitaba, so pay everything, so that is qiyas. But he is saying it is according to Abu Hanifa, so it means that it is Yeah, what do we call it? It is istihsan. They also say that Imam Muhammad used to do istihsan. I think most likely that's incorrect. Only Abu Hanifa. Okay, istihsan is actually abrogated or just opposed by the Athari Hanafis. Only Abu Hanifa does istihsan. But okay, you are right based on the Quranic reasoning. Now give me, what is that? Why not the entire amount, but only 2/3? So either 2/3 of her own value, which is mudabbar, or 2/3 of the agreed upon mukataba value. Why 2/3?
The 2/3 that if you can't will him, you can only will for 1/3.
Exactly. So what do you understand from here?
She's part of the will.
Exactly. So Abu Hanifa is considering even the mukataba as will and no more contract. Mukataba contract. Well done. Excellent. So it is istihsan. Contradicts with the qiyas. Well done, boys. So right now both of them need each other. These two boys. وإذا أعتق المكاتب عبده على مال لم يجوز وإن وهب على عوض لم يصح وإن كاتب عبده جاز. Okay, so let's suppose that I'm mukatab, okay, and then I buy a slave, and then I make mukataba with my slave. So Quduri says it's permissible, but then he comes back and says, actually, if I'm mukatab, I buy a slave, and then I free my slave for a money. Quduri says not valid. What's the difference? So two scenarios very similar. I'm mukatab, I buy a slave, and I do mukataba with my slave. Quduri says permissible. First scenario. Second scenario, I'm mukatab, I buy a slave, I free my slave for money. Quduri says not valid. What is the difference?
In the second one, is it because technically he's still a slave, so you can't free anyone?
No, but what about the first one? He's still slave also, and he's freeing. He's making contract for freeing someone. So it's exactly the same thing.
Can you just repeat the scenario?
I am mukatab, I buy a slave, and then I make agreement of mukataba with him. Quduri says fine. Second scenario, I'm mukatab, I buy a slave, and I free him for money. Quduri says no, not valid. Yes, ladies. Anything?
Is it because the freedom came first?
Excellent. When you free a slave for money, he's free already, but then he has to pay the money. Understand? But what about the mukataba? If he does not pay on time, he's back to slavery. But when freeing a slave for money means he's free, but he has to pay. Do you understand? So it is loss. It is it's the real loss for the potential payment. Freeing for money is real loss for potential payment. But what about mukataba? No payment, no freedom. So no loss at all. Do you understand? Well done. Excellent.
Are you saying that he frees the slave, then asks for money.
No. So we have two things. One is mukataba, and the second is freeing for payment. So freeing for payment means he's free already, but he has to pay. Yeah, maybe you guys I didn't explain the freeing for money before. Did we speak about it?
No, I didn't get how you presenting it, because you say free for money. I thought you had to pay then get
No. Freedom for payment. So in the fiqh we have two of them. One is mukataba, so no payment, no freedom, and the second is freeing for payment means he will be free, but he has to pay. So maybe did we discuss it yesterday? Yeah, so maybe that's the confusion. Okay, inshallah, next we're going to study about the wila. Wila is the attachment. Okay, wila. For wila means, let's suppose that I have a slave, and if I free my slave, so he will be attributed to me. Okay. Wila, what does it mean? Wila means, let's suppose that if he dies or if I die, and I do not have anyone to inherit my wealth goes to my slave, whom I have freed. Wila. Do you understand? So for example, we have so many Persians, for example, with the Arabian title. Why? Because his grandfather was a slave and he was freed by this tribe. So he takes, if I would free a slave, so my slave would be also Shukurov, attributed to my family. Okay, so he becomes part of the family. So that is the wila. So now we have this scenario. I'm mukatab, I buy a slave, and then I make mukatab with my slave, and I have master. Okay, and now if my slave frees himself by paying off the contract, so will he be my wali, my mawla, or will he be the mawla of my master? What do you think? Did you understand the question? So if I free a slave, so wila will belong to me. The wila of my slave will belong to me. So he will be the part of my family. So now we have complicated scenario. I have my master and I'm mukatab. I buy a slave and he is my mukatab. He frees himself by paying off the agreed upon amount. So now, is he my mawla or is he the mawla of my master? Why?
Because the muqatab slave, you can engage in transactions with him by
No, but I do not have like a full position, do I?
So go back to the master.
The master's master, because I belong to him, isn't it?
And you can go back to the state of being a slave.
No, but I'm freely buying and selling. So when I buy, I'm buying for myself, means I have position.
You have a position, but you still have the possibility of going back to being a slave of the initial master. I think you're still owned by him in a sense.
Yeah, tough point. I mean, strong point, mashallah.
It could be your mawla because
He answered to this question, to this point.
Yeah.
Because potentially I can go back, I mean, I can admit that I was unable to pay off. So then I go back.
When he goes back, then the money will go back to the first.
So give me proper answer then. Based on this, give me proper answer.
they have no answer. You know, the second muqatab, he's only going to become free.
No, if he pays off the contract, that's it. He's free regardless.
Yeah.
So
So that's why. So So his connection to becoming free was because of the first Muqaddib. So that's why that's his Mawla, not the original master.
No, but if the first mukatab will be unable to pay off, so all of the position will go back to the first Mawla, the master. So means the second mukatab paid to the master, to the original master. So he was freed by him then. Yes, Saidi.
Yeah, just a question. A Muqaddib is just a slave.
Slave, yeah.
Has a contract with the master.
Yes.
So the overall master is still the same.
Still the same, yes, yeah.
So for the Muqaddib is allowed to buy and sell, isn't it?
Yes, exactly, yeah. No, but the possibility of him being unable to fulfill is still there.
But that does not invalidate his buying and selling.
Yeah, because he has to pay off, isn't it?
At the time the second Muqaddib paid off,
Yeah,
the first Muqaddib was still a Muqaddib.
yeah. So,
So because of that, he wasn't fully a slave. So that's what I would say.
mashallah, good point. This one is good point. They have disregarded, but it's good point actually, but they have disregarded. So, the temporary authority, they're just disregarding. Qudur is disregarding this temporary because of this.
That's why.
All of you guys are telling the correct answer, but I need like proper, because both of the sides are right. So because of the possibility, we say if second mukatab will pay off before the first, so then wila will go back to the master. But if he pays off after the after the first mukatab paying off, so that is obvious. He will be the mawla of, but both of you guys are right. Well done, mashallah. Congratulations, I was not in your position what you are right now when I was in in this chapter when I was student. I had to study multiple books of Mukhtasar, the fiqh, before I have reached to this level, So you guys are losing to me only in time. So I was on this level by the age of about 15. How old are you guys now? Do I have anyone who's close to that age? You are 12, aren't you? 12, yeah. Okay, Sayyidi. Okay, so Kitabul Wila. Kitabul Wila. Al-Wila is, so we spoke about it. So we have two types of Wila. Okay, Wila, the actual proper Wila, which is by freeing a slave, and we have another one which is Mawla al-Muwalat. So for example, Mawla al-Muwalat means, obviously Hanafis do not regard it, but in some other schools it is accepted. Mawla al-Muwalat means, for example, this guy comes to you and then he converts into Islam, for example, okay, by you. So they say he is your Mawla by Muwalat. Okay, so because they say freeing from the physical slavery is not better than freeing from the slavery of worshipping something. Do you understand that mindset? So they said he will be part of your family, which means that if you die and you don't have, for example, any relatives, so your inheritance will go to him, Mawla al-Muwalat, and other way around also, Mawla al-Muwalat. But Hanafis, for some reason, they do not consider this type of Mawla al-Muwalat. But anyway, just for tabarruk, for barakah, it's possible. For example, this person converts. Okay, and for example, your name is Ahmad Khan, okay, or Ahmad Hussein, for example. So he converts into Islam because of you, okay, and his name is John Smith. So then he will be named as John Hussein. Hussein is your family, okay. But the actual wila is by freeing. So you free some slave, regardless, just for the sake of God or for some money, for payment. So he will become your Mawla. So that how, if you remember, Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu, we say that he is from Ahlul Bayt and he is Hashimi. Why? Because Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam paid off his mukataba to that Jewish family.
What about the hadith? I think the hadith where the Prophet said, whoever's Mawla I am. So
فَعَلِيٌّ مَوْلَاهُ. Yes, so if you know, we have two types of positions. So Ahlul Sunnah say that it is just for barakah and loving. Okay, but Shia take it literally. Literally means that it's actually the political, so physical. Okay, so no majaz. Ahlul Sunnah say no, it was majaz. So anyone who loves me or anyone who is close to me, so they should love Ali also. But Shia say no, it's actually talking about this in this term. Okay, so anyone who used to obey me because I'm their master, so Ali is also their master. Okay, so it's just disputed. अच्छा भाई. إذا أعتق الرجل مملوكه فولاؤه له وكذلك المرأة تعتق فإن شرط أنها سائبة فالشرط باطل. Okay, so let's suppose that we have this scenario. What time is it? Okay, so we have about 1 hour. Okay, so if a man or female or lady, if any of them will free a slave, so they will obtain or they will gain, they will maintain their wila. Okay, and it's not possible, so they cannot say that, for example, the slave or the one who is freeing cannot say that I'm freeing you but I'm fully free from you. No, they cannot do that. So definitely the one who is freeing, they will obtain the wila also. So, and also it's not transferable. So it's not possible that I will say to you, and you are my friend, I'm freeing my slave, but I will pass on the right of the wila to you. No, it cannot be done. I have freed, so it belongs to me. And also, we cannot leave it as saiba, saying that, okay, I'm freeing you, but you are free totally. No wila also. No, no, no. I have freed, so wila belongs to me. وَالْوِلَاءُ لِمَنْ أَعْتَقَى. And the wila belongs to the person who have freed. وإذا أدى المكاتب عتق وولاؤه للمولى. So if mukatab pays off the agreed upon amount, so he is free, but also the wila belongs to the master. So regardless if it is for free or if it is for payment, so in both of the scenarios, wila will go back to the master. وإن عتق بعد موت المولى فولاؤه لورثة المولى. If mukatab will pay off the money after the death of the mawla, of the master, so then wila will go back to the inheritance. Okay, so whoever who has received mirath, inheritance from that master. So all of them will have the right of the wila. Dunya. وإذا مات المولى عتق مدبروه وأمهات أولاده وولاؤهم له. When master dies, all of the mudabbar slaves will become free, and all of the ummul awlad, walads will become free also, and the wila of all of them will go back to the master. ومن ملك ذا رحم محرم عتق عليه وولاؤه لهم. So if you possess your mahrams, okay, so muharram mahrams, not just mahrams, so all of them will become free, and their wila will come back to you again. وإذا تزوج عبد رجل, so this is إضافة مضاف إليه, أمة الآخر فأعتق مولى الأمة الأمة وهي حامل من العبد عتقت وعتق حملها وولاء الحمل لمولى الأم لا ينتقل عنه أبدا. So let's suppose that I'm slave of someone and I marry someone else's she slave, and she becomes pregnant, and then she is freed by her master. So her wila and the wila of her child will go back to her master. It will not be transferable to anyone else. فإن ولدت بعد عتقها لأكثر من 6 أشهر فإن ولدت بعد عتقها لأكثر من 6 أشهر ولدا فولاؤه لمولى الأم. فإن أعتق العبد جر ولاء ابنه وانتقل عن مولى الأم إلى مولى الأب. So let's suppose that she gives birth after being freed, okay, after 6 months, for example, and then obviously her wila will be attributed to her master, and on the same way the wila of her child also. But after that, father will be freed also. So the wila of the child will go back to the wila of the father, the master of the father. Okay. Obviously, we said in terms of the freedom and slavery, child will follow the status of the mother. Okay. But in terms of wila is similar to the lineage, family lineage. Okay. And child is attributed to the father or mother. So that's why we will do. The wila will go back to the father. ومن تزوج من العجم بمعتقة العرب فولدت له أولادا فولاء ولدها لمواليها عند أبي حنيفة ومحمد رحمهما الله تعالى. وقال أبو يوسف رحمه الله تعالى يكون ولاء أولادها لأبيها لأن النسب إلى الآباء. Obviously, Imam Abu Yusuf rahimahullah, he is consistent with the default condition, because we said that wila is similar to the lineage, family lineage. Okay, so let's suppose that he's saying, let's suppose that I will marry this Persian lady, and she was a slave. She was a slave to this Arabian family, let's say Hashimi family. So obviously she is Hashimi. For example, her name is Julunar Hashimi. But she is Persian Hashimi because of she's freed by Hashimis. So her children, according to Abu Hanifa, her children will be attributed again to her master. Okay, so in my own understanding, it is the position of Imam Muhammad, because this is coming from the principle of superiority of Arabians, and that is the position of Imam Muhammad. Okay, so Abu Hanifa does not give that priority because it is Athari. Muslims, they believe in the superiority of Arabians over non-Arabians, and that is Imam Muhammad. Yes, Sayyidi.
Where else has this been applied to?
Sorry?
Superiority of Arabians over non-Arabians?
For example, marriage. So if you are non-Arabian, so you cannot marry Arabians. Yeah, and it is consistent with the Athari Muslims, and that is the official position of the Hanafis, contemporary Hanafis, and that's taken from Imam Muhammad. Abu Hanifa does not give any superiority, to the point that he says you can pray fara'id in Persian language. You don't have to even speak in, recite in Arabic language. Do you understand? So it is the position, and Imam Abu Yusuf in here being very consistent with our principle. He said no, Wila will go back to the father, because Wila is family tree, family lineage. Understand? So Abu Yusuf is consistent with our principle. Imam Muhammad is consistent with the Athari mindset, and Imam Muhammad is Muhaddith scholar. Makes sense. I don't believe Abu Hanifa is with Imam Muhammad in this issue. Most likely he is with Abu Yusuf, but Wallahu alam.
Like some people say that, you know, if you're a Sayyid, so then you can't marry non-Sayyids, so non-Sayyids cannot marry Sayyid.
No, only man cannot marry Sayyid lady. That's what they say. But official Hanafi position, we say knowledge, the virtue of knowledge is above any other virtue, including the age. So even they say, for example, Ali al-Qari mentions this 18 years old kid, but scholar, coming with him, for example, 80 years old man, ignorant man. So you have to show respect to this child first, before that old age, because in Hanafi school knowledge is above everything else. So scholar, non-Arabian scholar, can marry Hashimi lady, Sayyid lady, because we say in Hanafi school the knowledge is superior to the lineage and to everything else also. Yeah, and Hanafis, they have this even crazy point. They say if you respect the person for the wealth, you are not sahibul muru'ah. Your narration, your testimony is not accepted. But if you do not show respect to a man of knowledge, you lose the same also. So respecting the wealthy person for his wealth is equally sin to the disrespecting to the man of knowledge. Understand? Yeah, so you will not be fully qualified faqih, mujtahid faqih in Hanafi school without studying something on the level of Mabsut of Sarakhsi. Okay, so Sarakhsi, he just explains. So he's the one who trains you to be able to distinguish between the opinions and mindsets of Abu Hanifa, Abu Yusuf, and the other mashayikh. So he is the one who will train you. But anyway, inshallah, over about 10-15 years, you guys will cover that, because we mainly use the Mabsut as reference. So because you will be preparing for the lecture, or you will be asked, so you will go to check. So it will take, if you do not study it in one go, just checking the reference of Mabsut, but 5-10 years you guys will do. Yeah. Then he says, وَوَلَاءُ الْعِتَاقَةِ تَعْصِيب. So freeing, so the wila which you obtain by freeing yourself, it will be considered as asaba. Asaba means your male relatives, so they have a right, so that's how it will be passed on also, through your male relatives. So as soon as so any of your relatives to whom you are related to them through the males, all of them are your asaba. And what do we call, in fact, what do we call your relative to whom you are related through a female? So we have asaba and we have ذو رحم. ذو رحم. Okay. ذو رحم means, so rahim is womb. So you are related to him through a womb. So there is female involved. But anyone to whom you are related through the males, so they are your asaba. For example, my cousin is my asaba. But my maternal cousin is my ذو رحم. It is fiqhi terminology, so do not confuse it, because we have these ahadith or even Quranic verses in which Allah speaks in very high tone about the people who cut the ذو rahim. So it does not mean only your relative through the female. It includes everyone. It is just fiqhi terminology. Asaba is your relatives through the males. ذو rahim is there is some females involved. So based on that, even your maternal uncle is your ذو rahim in the fiqhi term. Obviously, fuqaha, especially Hanafi fiqh, gave a bit lesser or quite, little importance to the arham, to ذو rahim. Okay, some said, even some of the Hanafi scholars said, ذو rahim does not inherit anything. Okay, so فإن كان للمعتق عصبة من النسب فهو أولى منه. فإن لم يكن له عصبة للمعتق العصبة من النسب فميراثه للمعتق. So he says, if I will free a slave and the slave has relatives, male relatives, so when he dies, okay, so it works both ways. Okay, inshallah, I will explain. So then my slave dies. So if he has his own male relatives, they inherit him, or else I will inherit him. And same thing other way around. If I die, if I have asaba or people who receive inheritance, so they have more right to receive my inheritance than the slave whom I have freed. But if no one, if I do not have asaba, my slave will receive the inheritance. Yes, Eddie. Yeah, ذو رحم, yeah. MashaAllah, lovely question. Right now, I'm not ready to answer, Sayyidi. Yeah, so right now, I'm not ready to answer. We'll talk about it. It's coming. It's coming, yeah. Most of these masail are takhrij of Imam Muhammad. It's not from Abu Hanifa. Imam Muhammad, he was Arabian. So he gave quite a lot of strength to the Arabian thing, because Abu Hanifa respects the culture. Understand? So that's why he took the principle from Abu Hanifa, but then he applied it on his own thing. Imam Muhammad is Arabian. Understand? But we'll speak about this. Good question. فإن مات المولى ثم مات المعتق فميراثه لبني المولى دون بناته. Okay, so let's suppose that I will free my slave, and then so after then I die, and after me my slave dies. I have sons and daughters who will receive the inheritance. Is it my sons or is it my daughters? Who has more right? Sons, because asaba he already mentioned males. Yeah. وليس للنساء من الولاء إلا ما أعتقنا أو أعتق من أعتقنا. But what about the females? They, in terms of the wila, they have only one right, which is if they have freed someone. So if my wife frees someone, so she can receive only from him. Understand? And not from anyone else, because female, the connection of the female is weak. So whoever stays behind the female, they do not have an access. They do not have a right. So it's only through the male. So it is I'm male and through me. Only males. Okay. But women only if my wife frees someone, so she has the right of the wila of this freed slave, or the slave who is freed by my wife, so that slave frees someone else. So my wife has the right to that person. But she is the last person. Behind her, there is none. So that's what he says. وإن ترك المولى ابنا وأولاد ابن آخر فميراث المعتق للابن دون بني الأبناء لأن الولاء للكبير. Obviously, so the wila will stay with the. So let's suppose that I will free a slave, okay, and then I will die and has sons also. So the inheritance of the slave who is freed by me, will it go to my son or to the son of my other sons of my other son? So it will stay with the son. So the son will ban anyone behind him. So my son will receive the inheritance from that slave, but anyone behind him in the next category, the next level, they do not receive anything. So that's why he says, لأن الولاء للكبير. So wila, the right of the wila will stay with the senior in the family. وإذا أسلم رجل على يد رجل ووالاه على أن يرثه ويعقله عنه إذا جنى أو أسلم على يد غيره ووالاه فالولاء صحيح. So we are talking about a person, we call it مولى الموالات. So if he comes and says to me, okay, I accepted Islam because of me, so you are my wali, you are my mawla. So if I die, you inherit from me. Okay, so he says فالولاء صحيح. Okay, means it is jais, permissible. Okay, but will I be in the position of demanding as if it would be wila of freeing? In Hanafi school, no. Official position, no. So it is just as like a promise. Understand? A promise. Fulfilling the promise. Is it wajib or what is the hukum of fulfilling the promise? Wahhabi. Apne promise, you know? Then no, haram to fulfill it. Yeah. Now look, giving promise knowingly that you are not going to fulfill, it's major sin in Hanafi school. But you give promise and your intention that you fulfill it, but later you do not. So we say it is mustahab to fulfill that promise. But so the most important thing is, while giving promise, what was your condition? So if you knew that you're not going to do, so you are committing major sin. But if you knew that you are going to do, so later it becomes mustahab. So it is just promise. So for example, John Smith comes to me saying, Sheikh, I have listened to your lecture, so I do not have anyone, so you are my mawla. When he dies, so it is just promise. So I cannot officially go and demand my right in Hanafi school. So if judges Hanafi, so he will say no. It's just mawla al-muwalat, does not have a value. It's permissible, yeah, promise. But do I have to fulfill? No. وعقله على مولاهم. So and compensation or protection of the Mawla belongs to the Mawla. So let's suppose that I will free a slave, okay, and my slave does not have any relatives and he commits a crime. So there is financial penalty, isn't it? So me and my family are responsible to free him, to fulfill the payment. فإن مات ولا وارث له فميراثه للمولى. If Mawla will die, regardless from freeing or the freed one, and he does not have anyone who inherit from him, so his inheritance will go to the Mawla. وإن كان له وارث فهو أولى منه. But if the slave whom I have freed, if he has a relative, so relatives have more right to receive the inheritance than me. وللمولى أن ينتقل عنه بولائه إلى غيره ما لم يعقل عنه. So this one is disagreed upon, even within the Hanafi school. So can for example, can wala be transferred? Official Hanafi position, no. But we have weak position which says yes. So actually the position which says that wala is not transferable, it is the Athari Hanafi position. All of the Athari Ahlul Sunnah scholars said it's not transferable. So it is coming from that single chain narration in which Sayyida Aisha was freeing her slave, okay, but then these family came to her saying, you free your slave, but we buy it from you. So then hadith says that Rasulullah was angry on that day, saying, how come they're playing with the religion of God? The wila cannot. So it's actually there is more to this story. So anyway, as you can see, he's saying the wila can be transferred unless family of the Mawla, of the master, they make financial contribution. So slave commits crime, and then so for example, killing, murderer, okay, by mistake. 100 camels, isn't it? And then diya, financial compensation, but ala al-aqila, to the family. So the family of the freed slave is me and my family. So we will pay the compensation. So as soon as compensation is paid, my slave cannot transfer his wila to anyone else. So that is the second opinion. فإذا عقل عنه لم يكن له أن يتحول بولائه عنه إلى غيره. But as soon as financial compensation is paid, wila cannot be transferred anymore. وليس لمولى العتاقة أن يوالي أحدا. And also the person who is freed, so he cannot say, okay, so he cannot come to say, okay, so look, we are so now I want to just transfer. So you freed me, okay, but look, I don't want to be Nasafi, but I want to be Husseini. So I am transferring the wila to the Husseini family because I want to get this title of Husseini. No, that's not doable. Okay. Okay, so I think that much should be enough, Sayyidi. Yes.
Sheikh, going back to the Imam Muhammad thing, Sheikh, would you say he was, to me, it sounds a bit like a...
Racist.
Would you say he's a racist person, or is he just simply proud to be an Arab?
What was it that of the kufu, marriage and kufu? So in that I gave, you can say, mild interpretation if you remember. So in terms of marriage, the most important thing of our fuqaha was to protect the parties. And Arabians, they are very racist people, For them to marry off their daughter to non-Arabian, for them is till today, you go to Saudi, especially Najdis. Impossible, do you understand? So for them, family will be blamed, Even the relatives, they may disown that family who will marry off their daughter to non-Arabian, do you understand? So our early fuqaha, in my own understanding, they were trying to protect the families. So that's why. But it's again my interpretation, so just to try to smooth the sharp corners, But what was the actual reason behind that? Well, some of them have explained, but some of them did not. Yeah, so for example, in Hanafi school, mature lady, does she need the permission of the father to marry off herself? In Hanafi school. No. Means father is unprotected. So she can marry just random person. So we need to give some protection to the father also, to protect himself, to protect his face, you know. So what was that? So the chapter of kafa'a, kufu. Okay, so father has a right to nullify the marriage if lady chooses to marry someone who is not up to the standard. Yeah, so that is our interpretation. Okay, thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll see you next Saturday. Assalamu alaikum.
Very racist.